Thanks for joining us, everyone. Really appreciate you taking the time at the end of the day. We're joined by Antoni Ordinas today from Lillestrøm Academy. Lillestrøm have been working with us for a few years now, and we just asked him to come along, share his experiences, and why us, essentially, the best reasons why, which is always nice, but also how it's been implemented and things like that. Obviously, I'll allow Tony to introduce himself a bit more because he's the expert at that. My name is obviously Elliot. I am one of the sales team here at Playmaker. If you have any sales-based questions, then please feel free to ask them, but we'll try to focus on Tony and what he's done. If you do have any questions, please pop them in the Q&A section at the bottom or in the chat, whichever's easier for you. And right at the end, we'll go through some of the questions. We'll answer them there, and we'll get them asked, and we'll sort of see how things go. But other than that, I'll pop myself on mute. And yeah, Tony, over to yourself.
Hi, everyone. First of all, a pleasure to be with all of you, and thank you for this invitation to be part of this event with Playmaker. As you say, Elliot, it's now 3 years of experience with you and your company. We were a long time searching for solutions. I will explain our contest. And yeah, when we took the decision to start the process with you, the time just confirmed that we took extremely the right decision. So I will share 3 points. The number one is how Playmaker is helping us in our strategy as Academy. That is probably, I will say, the most important point for us. Second, what are in our perspective the advantages of the partnership with you, and the third one will be a little bit a reflection of what are the future steps that we would like to do in this cooperation. So I will share a few slides. I guess you see the presentation, if you can confirm.
Yep, good. Perfect.
Yeah. Then first of all, a little bit who we are. Maybe some people know a little bit, or people Lillestrøm is absolute discovery. We are a professional club in Norway. This is our facilities. What you see on the in front of you in the first stage is the training facilities of the academy. We have more than 900 boys and girls in youth development, and then we have the professional first team in men football. Lillestrøm is one of the, I will say, it's fair to say, historics professional clubs in the football history in Norway. Is as mentioned to you before, the first team man is in the top division. We are the club actually with the record of seasons, consecutive seasons in the top division. We have a relegation in 2019. We are back in 2020, and now the last 3 years we have been in the 4th position, consolidating, and the last season in the number 6. So we are there fighting for again being important in the top positions. Lillestrøm is the club with more titles. True that you can see yourself the last league title time ago. The cup, the Norwegian Cup, we have recently a couple also of successful histories. But now we are back to the strategy to become important again. And our main stadium is Ålesund Stadium. It's a stadium that is used by the national team to prepare the international matches. Also, our facilities with the grass pitches are also used. Is the location where the national team of Norway, both men and women, prepare the international matches. That arriving to the matter of this webinar. The first point, as I introduced you in the beginning, how Playmaker is contributing to our strategy as Academy. And I concentrated this presentation in the area that I lead, that is the youth department. First of all, the strategic target in our case is quite concrete and simple. We are focusing on player productivity. That's the main reason, as probably many clubs around the world when it's about your department. Our target is to bring to the club value. The way how we interpret that we generate value is by putting on the table of the first team manager and the chief of the sport direction in the club a name and surname. It's not about if our under 14 win that tournament or if under 16 qualify for that. That's another reality. The main value and the main contribution as academy to our club is to generate a player. A player for our first team, obviously, that's the step number one. So to consolidate a first team squad where the presence of academy players are important. A player that if he's not succeeding in our club still arrive to the top division in Norway, that is Eliteserien. A player who also arrived to be international for Norway, and in the top of the target of the strategy target, a player who is valuable in the market in the European leagues. This is our ambitious, this is our reality, and this is why we have to find the tools that provide us the most accurate decisions. As you know, and probably is part also of your work for I guess most of our attendance, the cost in the youth department to take wrong decisions, to don't select the right profiles, or to isolate it or stop the pathway or potential profiles that can really make the difference in the senior football. The cost is tragic because we are providing the future, and we are providing probably more than TV, more than other partners. We are providing strategic value, economical, and also institutional for the identity of the club. So that is our target. The way how we prove our strategy is that, for example, the last season, the 2023 season in Norway, this is the clubs in the top men division. We were by far the club with more own play time from our players in the academy in the first team. So almost touching the 40% of the total play time in the first team season in the Norwegian competition. So our strategy is not just a beautiful slide. It's not just a nice quote that we repeat when we have events. It's a proven, I will say, work on the pitch and inside the club. In this player productivity, what is the most critical question to answer? In a simple way, but I'm pretty sure that in a very, very functional way, is this player good enough? That's the critical question. We can try to put this word in a different, more functional way, but in the end, when we are sitting in the table with the chairman, with the board, with the sport commission, with the first team managers, in the end, we are always arriving to this point. Is good enough? And we have to give an answer as an academy, and we have to prove that he is good enough, and we have to prove by argumentation. Before Playmaker, we think that how we can prove that player is good enough. We have to prove that he's moving very efficiently, so the quality of the movements are very good. We have to prove that it's a good executor technically, so the relation with the ball is effective. We have to prove that he has a smart brain, so the decision making and the cognitive understanding in the game is good. We have to prove that he's playing with the heart, so he's committed and is loyal to the identity and to the plan of the team. And we have to, of course, also prove that he's brave. So when the difficulties rise, he will still be there and he will be involved in the game. And we have to prove this involvement. And the core of this all these qualities is what is a LSCO good enough player for our first team. That is the functionality of the strategy. When we put a name and surname in the table of the sport commission, is because we can be more, I will say, full convinced that this name and surname represent this profile of player. What happened? Happened that before Playmaker, we base this in the quality of our eye and experience. And that's, of course, we still think that this is usable. We still believe in our expertise. We still believe in the criteria of the competence that we have of our coaches and of the department. So understand me right, it's not that I'm present to you that this is not anymore used. No, of course it's used. But the combination of the expertise of the competence plus what is providing us the data and the numbers and the arguments that is providing us the use of Playmaker give us a combination that makes us not to be perfect. That's not the point. We need to be fair in that, but to be more convincing than ever about the decisions that we are taking when we are providing or when we are promoting professional contracts to certain players in the academy, where we are promoting players to train with the first team, or even more when we are promoting players to have professional contract in our first team and compete in the top division, as you saw with the means that we give. So that's what makes us to be extremely satisfied that today we have a decision, a strategic decision in terms of player logistic that before were not as strong as is today with the relation with Playmaker. What we need to take in consideration in this decision? We need to take in consideration the demands that the top division, the Elite Serie represent in all the variables, physical demands, technical demands, tactical demands, etc. We take in consideration, because now with Playmaker, we have this information, what is the number, what is the data of our best player in that role position in the academy. So we can make all the time a quick and concrete and objective comparison between the profile that we are discussing and our best player in the academy. And of course, it's much easier to also have what is the profile of this player compared with the best of his age in the current time. This gives us, as I said to you before, a very solid confidence that now when we are discussing, we are much more objective than what we were before Playmaker. But I have to say that there is a last point that the relationship with Playmaker is providing us, is what is happening outside Norway. Okay, when we are convinced that inside our club, this is a very interesting profile, because what is telling us the numbers and is telling us this. Okay, but what happened when we try to go in the same profile, in the same age, in the same category, and we look outside? We didn't have that information. Of course, there is some researchers. Of course, there is some data that we can call it, but the accuracy and the validation of this data, question mark. But now we have resolved this, and we have resolved this because through Playmaker, we are getting access to this type of report. We are getting comparison. We can compare the age group. We can compare certain countries. We can compare different data. And then we put in contest our data with the best data in top professional academies in Europe. Technical data, as you can see, very interesting questions. Physical overview of data regarding explosivity and regarding quickness that is defining and the repeating high intensity action that is defining this sport today and probably in the future, and the playing tempo. So now when we are going to the manager of the first team, and when we are going to the sport commission who decide strategy in play logistic, and we say that this is a good profile, it's not that we are thinking about our internal Lillestrøm Sportsklubb contest. We are providing that this is a good profile, also taking in consideration what are the realities outside in the international football or international youth football in our case. So this is extremely value for us, and there is something that is coming from the relationship and the partnership with Playmaker. What is the second most critical question? Okay, now we have clear which profiles, which players are very consistent, the most promising projects to the professional reality in our club or in our international football. Are these players training good enough? Is the training methodology, is the week training good enough to really bring these players to the best version of them? That's the second most important question when we have clear who are our projects. Before Playmaker, again, it was a subjective evaluation of the sessions. It was the combination of the perception of the coaches with the perception, sometimes myself as academy director observing, sometimes, of course, from the head of the coaching. It was pure about interpretations. Now, of course, in a strategy of the methodology that we have, where the motor skills take an important part of our methodology, we have a specific task where we work fundamental games, offensive, defensive. When we have a tactical main part of the session, where we have to work in different type of spaces and in different type of game phases, and we have what we call the properly match momentum in the session. When this methodology is solid and is clear, and all our teams from 13 years to our top junior team is following the same methodology, it's very easy to start to track data, to start to have historic of data, to have reference about what is a good session or what is a good drill or exercise in the session. And this is, of course, provided by what is Playmaker is giving. In contest, we can now answer very concrete and very objective these two questions. Is the session providing enough stimuli to the players to improve? Are we too much stimulating the player during this week, this session, or this period of time? Or are we in too little stimulus? So the players are not the typical problem that people talk about, overload. No, we are in the opposite, but extremely dangerous scenario where we are not loading enough the players. So the risk of injury when we go to the reality of the match is really high. Second question, is the training session, is the week session generating enough ball relation with the player? Is the player enough time and actions involved with the ball to can really improve that important part when we're especially thinking youth development? Is the conditions of the exercises and the condition of the sessions generating enough interaction with the players? Because this is the game today. It's about self-organization. It's about recognizing and interpreting scenarios. So are we generating enough this type of conditions? Well, now we have the most simple way to have all this information, both in training perspective and both in match perspective. Now we have the dashboard where we can go in whatever direction we want. We can go in individual, and we can analyze individual by individual. We can analyze, as you see now in the screen, the squad perspective. We can have the specific data of a session, and we can put this in the perspective of the last 4 sessions. So we have the week perspective. We can filter this in so many different ways, in a so easy way, where all the coaches who are connected with this team, so who are involved in the improvement and the development of these players, they can access and they can have a quite accurate picture of what means the training perspective for the player. We have different, both technical, physical. So this is providing a very good overview to take decisions, to correct decisions. So now the planning steps or the planning process of training and evaluating process of the training get much more accurate, and we can adjust with much more accuracy the decisions also during the week. There is a third question, obviously, is okay, we know, or we are, let me say in this way, we are much more convinced about which profiles are really, really interesting for us in the short, medium term in the academy. We have the data to give us concrete, accurate answers if these players are training in the optimal conditions, in the optimal demands, in the optimal load to can get the best of them. Okay, what about the competition? Is the player competing at his best? Is the numbers of the player, is the interaction of the player and the involvement of the player in the match providing what we want to see? Or we are in behind, or we are discovering something that, wow, we didn't expect that, but now we are in a very, very good trend. Obviously, again, this is what Playmaker has been impacting there is, I will say in this way, there is a before and after that decision. Now we are in a completely different dimension of analyst. And now what we can do, as you can see in the screen, we can go in so many concrete indicators, performance indicators, that before it was a dream to can have this information and to can discuss players weekly in the academy, in the coaching staff. But of course, we didn't have the possibility at all to do it. So now we can really analyze the match perspective from technical, from physical, from all the variables that for us is needed. And I must be fair with you. We are one step behind of what we pretend to do. I will talk about this in the end. We are not, but this is us. This is our reality at the Lillestrøm Sportsklubb Academy. We are not prepared yet to can use the dimension of the tactical dimension that Playmaker offers. So this is us. This is our reality. I'm pretty sure that in the progression of the improvement that we are doing also as an institution of the academy, with incorporating more competence and more full-time positions. In a short term, we will be able, but there is also a part that we are even not exploring yet of the possibilities of Playmaker. But this is very important for us. What is also important, not every coach is used, or not every coach like to work with the dashboard. They prefer to download this information and work with a more familiar context. So we have our data that we are exporting in a so easy way. It takes seconds to do that. And now we take this in a more familiar context. This is, for example, coaches who analyze different stuff, and they take a minimum part of the information, because you can have so much information, and then they make it relevant. This is information that we share with the players, so the players can see from a normal training week. We have our own testing profile. We have our own battery of testing, and the battery of testing is complementary and is getting really, really useful, because now we have the tools to can do it, so we can adjust the profiles. So different points to make more familiar the use and more effective in how every coach pretend to use this data. This is from the decision when we start the process with Playmaker, the big benefit of how now in our strategy in the player logistic, that for us is the most important in the academy, there is a completely different story from the past and the present, and I'm sure the future. Second point, in a more reflection perspective, why Playmaker? First of all, we were looking for a solution that we can use outdoor and indoor. We are Norway. The conditions of the weather, as you can imagine, makes, for example, now in this period of the year, not at all easy to always can do activities outdoor. And we need a solution that is useful and is effective and is accurate indoor. When we look the market, what offers Playmaker, it was for us the clear conviction that that's what we need. That's exactly what we need. The facility of functionality to can use with different teams, the facility and the functionality to that as soon the session is finished, this is automatically the preparation before the session, even if we don't have a big department, because this is a reality. So we have a small department of physical coaches, but the facility to can be functional and practical to prepare it before the sessions, that was a fantastic solution for us. Second, because what is providing Playmaker is the reality of the integration in a holistic perspective. Now we have the solution to can analyze the player from the reality of the technical, tactical, physical dimension. And the data that is providing us is giving an answers. So for us is a fantastic in our way to think how we can contribute to generate value for our club, is giving us the best tool that we can have in our perspective about it. Then the adaptability from when we start to talk with them to say, okay, that's our reality, that is our contest, this is the teams that we have. We have players who play in different teams, as probably many of you. So we don't have closed squads. No, a player now is playing for this team, but after 2 months or maybe in the next tournament, he's going to play with this team. So of course, how we can keep controlling his data without interfering, the adaptability of the Playmaker tool and system is top in our view. So here the system is providing the solutions when we are traveling to tournaments, when we are playing different competitions. So our teams play regional competitions, national competitions. So this is absolute contemplated, and it's a fantastic solution to always have control and track of the players. And I must say that the quality of the support. Of course, there is issues. That's a normal process. There is things that sometimes we are not sure or we have some issues. So the facility to contact, to get the support, to find solutions, and to do it fast and functional, we are extremely satisfied of this work. And the last point that I would like to share with you is that, okay, now is this process of experience, how we think ourselves to develop the future, the next steps. They are quite simple points that we have very clear in our development as academy in the use and the relation with Playmaker. The first one is incorporate the tactical dimension. So have also the data that Playmaker can offer in terms of interaction, in terms of involvement, that now we are not taking advantage. So this is our reality, but we are very I will say determined that this is the next step for us. Second, with all the data collected until now and what we are still collecting, now we are prepared to really define a catalog of drills and trainings, because now we can now we have the tracking of data that is giving us the objective security that these drills will providing us this type of effort, this type of touches with the ball, this type of interactions, if we do in this space, if we do in this framework of work and rest. So these 3 years of work is giving now us a very good starting point to have a absolute accurate catalog of drills and tasks to make, I will say, not just also in a collective team training process, but also in an individual perspective of role positions. That is something that as academy, I think all of us, when we work in academy, in the end, we try to develop a specific role positions. So now we are prepared for arriving to this point. And again, in our perspective, especially I will say in the Scandinavian perspective, when we are clubs and leagues that are ambitious is provide players for the European market. That's our contest, our football contest. It's so important for us the prediction of which players has the international profile, which players are those that the data is providing us the security that if things keep going in this good direction, this will be projects for European football, European sales, big incoming for our clubs. Well, this is what Playmaker plays a fantastic role for us, because this benchmarking reference, this data that is coming from the possibilities that they have, is something that we as a club we cannot reach. So in that part, for us is extremely important to can predict early which players are really important to keep in consideration for future strategic decisions. And this is summarizing the keys that makes us to be extremely satisfied of our relationship and to be sure that we are a much better academy and a much more accurate strategic processes in our academy from when we took the decision to work with Playmaker.
That's great. Thank you so much, Tony. I really appreciate that. It's incredibly thorough and, covered so much ground. If anyone has any questions, we've got, a little bit of time left over here. Please feel free, use the chat function, use the Q&A, to sort of pass on and, sort of things like that. I guess on my end, with your sort of the international player sort of pathway, that's really interested me of how do we identify those? What sort of, do you sort of see a synergy with the national team in this and sort of trying to pass on that data earlier to them? Or do you sort of see this as solely as a Lillestrøm project kind of thing, do you think?
I think, to be honest, all the professional academies, in the end, we are considering this point, both in recruitment system and in productivity. We are not a club, and I will say Norwegian contest. We are more in terms of producing players. We are a factory of sporting players. We are thinking, okay, what will be the next Haaland, of the next Martin Odegaard, of the next Carolina Graham, of the next, so more than recruiting players. But I think in an international perspective, to recruit the right profiles and to build the right profiles is the key factor here. So when you have the data of play tempo, the data of number of touches per game, the data, and then you can compare this with other realities. The confidence that you are going to the manager of the first team and say, hey, that is the right, then of course you go with a different face. That if it's just about, okay, I'm thinking, I'm quite sure, no, now you don't need to talk by yourself. You put the data on the table, and that's of course providing more professionality and providing more objectivity to the process.
Yeah, that's great. So a couple of questions here. First one from Ali. How is the data collected? Well, I mean, I can take that one. Playmaker is a system that's worn on your boots. You have a strap for each boot and a unit that goes into those straps. Players put them on for every session they do, and the data is internally collected. So we are not a GPS provider. We're not going to connect to any satellites or anything like that. All the data is collected using accelerometers and very clever AI algorithms to get everything going. And then at the end, much like a GPS, you download it onto an iPad using Bluetooth, send using Wi-Fi to the cloud, and then it's all provided on the dashboard. So simple and easy to use.
And I will say, I will add, Elliot, that one of to be full honest with all of you, when we were in the discussion, of course, one of the questions that raised in that, but will be the player comfortable with the system? No, because we are to use it to don't see, well, our experience after 2 months, because we make a questionnaire to our players from 13 to 19. All of them were comfortable. they say much more comfort to have the GPS in our back. So the fear about if the player will feel something, it was absolute immediately away. So it's absolute comfortable system, no interfering at all.
One from an anonymous attendee. Do you use data in player evaluations? Which criteria do you use? How do you interpret them? For example, high intensity runs is normal in a midfielder will have more than a central defender. So I guess sort of weighting of how do you weight things for individual players in individual positions?
So to the first part of the question, yes, we use it in the evaluation. And secondly, as the tender already say, we filter these demands of the position depending of what are the demands of the game. A striker has certain type of demands that is completely different than the fullback. So what we have is we have the reference of our first team. So we have the reference what are the demands per position in the top division in Norway. And then what we do with this data that is collected is making a projection of the player. Okay, when the player has 15 years, when the player has 17 years, when the player has 19 years, are the player, the results, what the data in the match and in the trainings, providing that this player will be reaching the demands of the first team or not. So that is used. Then is giving up, of course, much more accuracy in the testing battery. We have a specific testing battery for the youth department, and now and then we can define the parameters. So we can say what for LSCO means high intensity or means so we can personalize this data. Of course, as you can imagine, we follow what the international or what the standard protocols are. So we have we are the ownership of how we calibrate this data.
Okay, great. Cool. So a couple of questions about the data that's sort of fed into the system. That sort of stuff that we can discuss on a one-to-one basis with people and customers as they come in. It's not something that we, it's something that we can, have conversations about. So Ryan and James, that's sort of for you both, and it's something that we can happily talk about afterwards. I'm going to provide my email at the end of this, so please feel free to drop me an email and we can talk about it a little bit more detail there. Jorge, was it difficult to convince the players to use it? Meaning, were there any suspicions/rejections at first, or even some coaches?
Not actually, because what we did, we did a presentation for the players to explain why we were incorporating Playmaker, the benefits to have objective feedback of your work. What is I didn't mention, to be fair, and maybe sorry about that, but every player has an app, of course, as you can imagine. So what happened in a short time of period is that the player gets extremely curious after the practice or after match. And then, of course, there is a part of educating the player that this data is your data. So it's not about what Elliot have and what Tony have. That's not the point. It's about Elliot versus Elliot and Tony versus Tony. So, of course, you have to, especially the youngest one, who are so eager to see who is the one who has more touches or less. But the positive part is that you create players extremely curious for this type of information. So from, I think, a problem that sometimes we have that the player don't take care of, that I think for me is the worst scenario when the player don't take care of, to players curious and to players eager to see, okay, and to players who can easily compare that, oh, these numbers are good numbers compared with what I normally have. For me is a big benefit, and it was not difficult. But the truth is that we did a presentation, an introduction, why we are incorporating this tool, what can be the benefits, and what are the reasons to use it. So this helped probably to understand the process.
And what I also realized, I've had feedback from a coach from another club who said it's very similar to when you put on. When you put on shin pads for the first time, it's a bit weird, a bit uncomfortable, and then by the end of the session, you're running around, you haven't even noticed. So it's just that little bit of interest and buy-in, and it's how it's framed by the pokers, essentially. If there are any more questions, please do pop them in now. What I'm going to quickly do here is add my email to the chat. If you have any other questions, please feel free to pass them on to me, or any specific sales related questions. This recording has been recorded. We're going to send it out to everyone afterwards as well, so you have a copy for yourself. But looking at it, that might be the last of our questions. So if that is the case, then I think we will give it an end here. Really appreciate you taking the time, Tony. This has been invaluable, not only for myself, but obviously for everyone here. And yeah, thank you so much for coming on board in the first place, but also helping us out here. So yeah, thank you so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much to everyone, and all the best.
That's great. Thank you, everyone. Cheers. Bye-bye.